Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelsey. I am going to be doing a video for you guys today about two different men's fragrances that are my absolute favorite. I wanted to kind of compare the two because although one was my previous #1 men's fragrance of all time, I now have replaced it with this other fragrance. They are definitely my top two men's designer fragrances of all time. So I'm going to be comparing those for you guys. To me, these are two just classic French men's fragrances that should be more talked about. I think they deserve a lot more recognition than they get, honestly. One of them does get kind of a lot of hype, but I definitely don't see the other fragrance. And so the first one I'm going to talk about was previously my #1. It's now my #2, but still. L'Homme Idéal Extrême from Guerlain. Guerlain is just a classic French fragrance house. They have been making fragrances for decades, skincare as well. That is just well-known classic French perfumery. So of course they make some of the best men's and women's fragrances, and in this case they have the L'Homme Idéal range. So you have the intense version, you have an eau de toilette, eau de parfum, and then you have the extreme version, which is my personal favorite. This is a delicious, slightly gourmand, slightly spicy fragrance. To my nose, I get a lot of almond, a lot of plum, and the plum gives it this slight cherried note. So it's very boozy, sweet. It's just rich and decadent, and that's why I love it so much, because it's very sexy on a man. This is ultra masculine. I could see a woman wearing this, but honestly to me this just screams like sexy man. In the top you have almond, pink pepper, and bergamot, and then in the mid you have plum, cinnamon, and heliotrope, and the base notes you have tobacco, leather, patchouli, and cedar. So you do see some of those classical fragrance notes used in a lot of men's fragrances, like patchouli, cedar, leather, bergamot. So kind of those deep, richer notes in the base, but then you have some freshness in the top. But what you don't see very often in men's fragrances are the notes of almond or plum. Usually those are used in more unisex range fragrances. So to me, adding that to a designated men's fragrance is just revolutionary in my opinion, because it adds a slight gourmand touch. It adds a boozy undertone that I think is just divine, and it's something unique and different. This is definitely the most outstanding fragrance from the range. The other ones are a little bit more typical. I've tried the regular eau de parfum, eau de toilette. I did try the intense version as well, and they didn't stand out to me as much as the extreme version. I think this one is just a little bit more dense thanks to the plum, the tobacco, the leather, and the almond, of course, adding that slight gourmand touch. So this is a great date night fragrance if you really want to impress somebody. I would say it's a little bit too much for everyday wear in the office. This to me is more of a night out fragrance, hands down. As you could see, we've gone through quite a bit, and I've had this since March. This is the 1.7 ounce, so the half size, and we are about 1/4 of the way through, so we get a lot of wear out of this fragrance. It's definitely in my top. Even though it's my #2 now, I still absolutely recommend that you get this one for a sexy date night fragrance. My #1 men's designer fragrance recently became a #1. I discovered this last month while I was in Paris. I was looking for the eau de parfum version, and I came upon the intense, which I then purchased because I fell head over heels for this fragrance instantly, and that is the Dior Homme Intense. As you can see, I purchased the largest bottle available. This is 5 ounces. This is definitely a newer bottle because they used to only have the 1.7 and the 3 ounce. So I picked up the 5 ounce while I was there because it was discounted. I found it at the duty free. I tested this out, and like I said, I just immediately fell in love with it. There's something addictive that just pulls you in, and to me this is a little bit more of an everyday appropriate fragrance because it's slightly fresher. It doesn't have that boozy aspect that the L'Homme Idéal Extreme has. So this is more wearable. It's a little bit more easygoing. So I get a lot of iris in here. I get some violet, some pepper, and then in the base I do pick up on the cedar and maybe some vetiver, so I'm going to read off the notes for you guys. In the top we have lavender, adding like a slight herbal fresh undertone. In the mid we have iris, ambrette, pear, and in the base we have cedar and vetiver. Cedar and vetiver is used in a lot of men's fragrances, especially in the designer world. It just adds this kind of fresh woody base to it. But what they did differently in here is by adding the ambrette and the pear, it adds a slight sweetness to the fragrance. The ambrette provides this almost musky, powdery undertone, so it is still very clean. It's not overly sweet, it's not heavy whatsoever. This is quite an airy fragrance. But regardless of these softer sounding notes, this fragrance will last you all day. It doesn't project a whole lot. It leaves a nice like scent bubble around you, maybe a slight scent trail in the first few hours. The scent is just to die for. You get a lot of the iris and the ambrette, so it adds this powdery tone to it. But the iris is a buttery iris. It's very creamy, it's smooth, it's velvety. It's not overly floral whatsoever. And the pear just adds a slight fruitiness. This is divine. I would wear this myself just because I love the smell of this. I'm not usually one to gravitate towards iris fragrances on myself. I do like them on men because it is very clean smelling. It just has this slight gourmand touch on the skin, coming from the ambrette and the pepper. To me, it is a soft seduction. It's not heavy, you're not overdoing anything. It's the right amount of all the notes combined. And this is definitely, like I said, more of a wearable, everyday fragrance. If you're looking for a signature scent, I could really see this in any occasion, any season. I wouldn't rule this out in summer. I wouldn't rule it out in winter. It just performs very well in all occasions, but it's definitely going to make a statement. I've said that before. Once you walk into the room, they're going to know that you have good taste. You're gonna be put together, have a nice outfit on. This isn't like a lazy day fragrance. You definitely want to have like your outfit planned for when you're going to work, or if you're going out, you're going to dinner, you're going to lunch. People are gonna want to be your friend. They're gonna want to get to know you when you wear this fragrance, because there's just something that draws you in, and that's why it's so popular. You do see more reviews maybe on the parfum side, but on the intense, I think this is underhyped. It should be more hyped up like the eau de parfum, because this is just extremely addictive. It's sexy without doing too much. This is an underrated fragrance by far, and I'm obsessed with it. I want you all to know about it. I want you all to go out and get a bottle of this for your collection, because this is signature scent worthy. You're definitely going to get a compliment on this, or you're going to make a new friend. This is elegant. It's refined, it's smooth. It has almost a velvety texture. That's what I picture when I smell this. It's just silky, soft, and smooth. I love it. If you are in the US, this is kind of hard to get, but they do have it available on FragranceNet. I'll see if there's any other websites where you can purchase this. Unfortunately, it's not in department stores for you to smell, but maybe you can find a sample somewhere. I'll see if I can, find a link where you can find a decant or a sample to at least try it first, but I'll link some options below for you guys. And I'll also link the Guerlain option as well. The Guerlain is definitely easier to find at discounters. I've found it on several websites. I have seen it in discount stores. I have not seen the Dior Homme Intense, but regardless, I'll link those down for you guys to check out. Let me know if you guys have tried either of these fragrances and what you think about them. And do you have any recommendations for me to try on men's fragrances, whether it be designer, niche, or anything in between? I'd love to hear about it. Thank you so much for watching today. I appreciate you, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!